They look great on paper, but in practice, they create silos, block alignment, and stall execution. Dividers are the leadership hires who kill scale from the inside. Learn how to spot them before they slow you down. The multiplier scorecard will show you how.
Imagine having access to a tribe of mentors. Leaders that you might have never heard of, but in just an hour, you'll know their unfiltered career story. The bets they took, decisions they made, and the lessons that they learned along the way.
Welcome to the What Makes You Tick podcast.
We have a special episode today, a What Makes You Tick Revisited. Elitsa, welcome back to the podcast. So good to see you.
Thank you, Tolu. Very, very happy to be here again.
And Rich, welcome. This is your first time doing the episode with Elitsa, because I think I did it by myself last time, so welcome.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. I was just saying to Elitsa in the green room that her episode for about a year was the most viewed episode we ever did. And it was all about living globally and leading globally, which you've continued to do since we last spoke.
Some things don't change, Richard. Some things don't change.
That's what we're here for. And it was such a great episode that we've asked Elitsa to come back on and do a bit, our first ever revisited. And I know that there's been an incredible amount of learning and journey that you've been on since then. So I can't wait to catch up and share it with the listeners. So thank you.
Thank you.
So Elitsa, what makes you tick now?
So Tulu, as I said, a lot of things change, but some things don't. And what makes me tick while I'm at a different organization, right, having different challenges, it's still the same thing that keeps me up at night or gets me excited to wake up in the morning. And that's having impact, right? Having impact as a VP of sales, now my impact can be even bigger than before. How can we have impact on the communities we serve? How can we have impact on the customers we support? How can I have impact on the team that I'm building, on their career, on their future? And that's still the same kind of excitement that I get to wake up every morning and get better with every day.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And what has changed for you since we last spoke? Why don't you update everybody?
I would say a lot has changed on a professional level. I've switched jobs. Previously, when we spoke, I was part of the sales organization at Preply. It's an edtech company, now a unicorn, which is exciting. I moved to a slightly different, I would say, industry. It's AI. I'm currently working at an organization that sells cloud calling solution plus voice agents. So I've moved to a really interesting AI field, which I've really enjoyed. On a personal level, I became a mom of two. So triple the problem, triple the trouble, as I said in the past. So more challenges, but also more excitement, right? And fun.
Congratulations. And you moved country too, right?
Correct. I did move countries with my two kids under 3 years old. I moved from Boston to Barcelona. And also I moved alone. My husband is a US diplomat, so moving together is not always possible. But again, if you find the right opportunity, all you need to say is let's go and make it happen and see how, see the opportunities it will bring. So yes, I have moved with the kids to Barcelona.
And what made you move from Preply, where everything was going really, really well, to CloudTalk, which is, in an earlier stage of the journey than Preply is? What made you make that move?
Yeah, no, great question. It was not an easy decision because Preply was, to be honest with you, my life. I absolutely enjoyed my 7.5 years being there and building the B2B division from scratch. And what I realized is that I missed that excitement of building again, of building and scaling sales organizations and teams. Preply B2B division was quite well organized, and I kind of missed that challenge and that excitement of building something and really having that big impact on the organization, on the team again. And when the right opportunity came, I for sure did not plan to move countries. But when the right opportunity came, I always think I don't want to be that person that in 30 years says, why did I take that opportunity and scaled it and made it work? So I took on that new challenge, and it's been a really fun challenge, and I do not regret my decision, even though I do miss the Preply team.
I'm really curious to ask because you're the DNA of what we started this podcast to go and find, and I genuinely mean that, which is the intrapreneur. And we were talking about in your old podcast about how, creating something, and you obviously talked about creating the B2B division at Preply. I know you've done that in previous roles too, but building within a business. And you've mentioned a couple of times about the impact. So if we say we love the intrapreneurs who build businesses and multiply impact, what does being an intrapreneur at that building stage mean to you? And why do you love it so much?
Yeah, 3 reasons, right? The first one is, in order to be an entrepreneur and to be successful, you have to have a grit, right? There are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of challenges thrown at you, and you just have to figure out the right path forward. And I feel like with my personality, I strive at that. That's my sweet spot. Second thing is, again, the love of finding the right team to build this, this opportunity with, to solve this challenge with. And I enjoy doing that. How can I find the right team, the right organization, build the right culture to help us get to that next level? And I think without that, it's going to be really hard to be able to be an entrepreneur. And lastly, Richard, it's consistency. A lot of times when you listen to entrepreneurs, you feel like, okay, they did one thing and then all of a sudden they turn into a unicorn $1 million business. That certainly can be true for 0.01% of organizations. But generally, it's that consistency of grinding every day, of showing up every day consistently, doing the work. And then when you look back in a couple of years, you understand the cumulative work has actually helped the organization scale. And I enjoyed that consistency, right? So the grit, again, the love of building and finding the right team to solve the challenge, and consistency are the things that I think every entrepreneur needs to have to be able to get to that next level.
When you look back over your career, what are some of those things that you've been able to be consistent at? That when you look back, you say, okay, actually, those consistent habits are part of what's been able to make me be successful?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think first is, again, really spending a lot of time building the right team and building their capabilities. I really enjoy, as a leader, kind of seeing the teams be successful, right? So for me, it's very important that we don't just grow with hiring a bunch of new people with fancy resumes, but we actually grow the team within. And that's something that I've consistently done, and I want to continue doing. I really enjoy it, and I believe that's the way to faster scale. I would say the second thing is, while a VP of sales, I like to be into the weeds, right? I like to join customer conversation. That gets me excited. I never want to move away from that. No matter the role, no matter how high up you are, you have to be listening and joining customer conversations. So those are the things that I consistently kept with me. And again, I'm part of quite of a big, I would say, CRO community. And I thought that this is what everybody is doing, right? You have to be working closely with the team. You have to be joining their conversations to win even their trust and the trust of your customers. But it's surprising to see how rare this is.
I'm really curious to ask about the jump to VP sales, because it's what a lot of people would aspire to. The failure rate's incredibly high. The gap is massive, and often the support isn't great. And the expectation that a lot of this stuff and that you'll bring it to the business in a lot of businesses is very high. And a lot of businesses will give a huge amount of responsibility to a senior revenue leader without necessarily, often, I'm not saying that's the reality in your business, but is without giving an enablement track. But enablement tends to stop at a kind of leadership level in a lot of businesses. And I wonder if, a couple of things, when I'm talking about this, what comes to mind?
Yeah, no, very good point, Richard. Luckily, it hasn't been the case for me. As a VP of sales, there are a lot of things that I necessarily don't know, right? And even if you have 10 years of experience in sales or 15 years of experience in sales, 20 years experience in sales. Things change so quickly with AI that there are a lot of things that we don't know, but we should be curious. So the first thing is like, you have to be curious to learning every day, right? And that's, I think that one thing that I really enjoy is learning every day. And second thing is with my new organization, CloudTalk, right? Like at the leadership level, we actually support each other. It's a very tight community where if there's something that I have identified as a problem, we get together and decide on what's the path forward. Obviously, I need to have my own solutions aligned, but it's not something that I'm there alone and I'm supposed to make the decision alone. So that is fantastic. And third is I actually have a very good advisor. So if I ever need support within sales with somebody who's done this and been there through these steps, I have that possibility. So I've been extremely lucky that I feel like I have the community, I have the support. And again, for those that don't, I think it's really important to reach out to other VP of sales, to other leaders. I have done that myself. When I find somebody, I was like, that's a challenge that I'm sure they've had in the past. Let me tap into them. Oftentimes they respond and I have a good conversation, but it's important for us to be building our community and be accountable for that, right?
Yeah.
What were some of those unknown unknowns? So when you came into the role, you would have thought, okay, these are some of the challenges that I'll have. But what were some of the things that you found since you've been in role that you didn't quite expect? What are some of those challenges?
Yeah, it's interesting because as you step into a new role, especially on a leadership level, you think about, okay, there will be a couple of things that probably will need to be revamped, right? Like, and before coming to CloudTalk, I was thinking, okay, first you either have a really strong team, but really poor processes. We already knew that the product is very good because they're predominantly inbound organization, which is quite rare. So for me, the two variables were the team, like the probably is strong, the process is not so strong. Fantastic. That's what I'm here for, right? Not so good. Second option would be the team is not great. The processes are there. It will take time because building a new team, right, takes quite a bit of time, but still not impossible. And the third is a combination of both. I had the combination of both, and it is kind of a little bit surprising to me, right? I had a very strong individual contributors, some of the best ICs that I've ever seen. The mid layer was missing. And that is something I did not expect, right? Meaning the mid layer was good, but not good enough for us to scale. And as a new VP of sales, Tulu, this is a hard decision to make. You're not so sure about the product. You're still assessing the organization, but you have to move fast and make quick decisions to help you scale faster. And this is something that I feel like a lot of VP of sales kind of fail, is like making a fast decision of who should stay and who you should part ways, because they're good now, but they would not be good in 6 months to get to there. And this is one thing that was difficult for me to make, because those people had the knowledge, the product knowledge, the customer knowledge. They just didn't have the skills to get us to that next level. It was a tough decision to make, and it was really painful at first because I had to manage quite a few people. But it taught me a good lesson, right? Because I was working directly with the individual contributors. I learned so much about our processes. I learned so much about the pains that our customers are facing. Obviously, it was overwhelming, but luckily I found the right leaders, and that was night and day. And I couldn't believe that I even doubted my decision in the past. So that's one thing that I've learned along the way, is make quick decisions. If you're not sure about the people that will help you scale, especially on that mid-level manager, it will be a long-term pain if you don't make the decision quickly. So that was one of the things that was surprising to me, and I learned in a good way, right? Like I made the right decision, but it was not easy at first.
What were some of those skills like that someone should be looking for that future position? Because I think that's a really interesting point. Because if you're casting vision for scale, what are some of those things that you think people should be looking for in their current team to decide if they should stay on?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is when you're at a point where a lot of the processes are done through, I will get it done, don't you worry, right? Like there's no process. You just do it as it comes on an ad hoc basis. Clearly, that is not the way to go forward. I think if you're a leader and you've been in leadership for a couple of years, you kind of you have that gut feeling when you meet someone, you say they're fantastic, they're a really good employee, but they're not going to be that future leader to get us to that next level. You have that innate feeling just by understanding, are they process driven? Do they understand how to coach the team, right? Coachability is really important. Are they open to growing and changing the way of how things have been done in the past? And if those things are not in place, that already signals that you might want to find someone else to help you scale quickly.
I'm really curious to ask. So one of the things that we found most shocking in the last 12 months was a piece of research by Sequoia that said that 89% of mishires were due to attitude and cultural misalignment, which makes sense if you think about the reason why people fail. We don't often get capability wrong if we run a good, thorough process with some kind of application and feedback. So we're testing those things, but only 15% of businesses have a documented set of behaviors and characteristics that make someone a high performer, whatever you call it, whether it's A player or multiplier or star. Only 15% of businesses have actually defined what that looks like. And then that goes into, here's what we recruit, here's the lens that we're looking at, here's what we assess against, and here's what we're trying to achieve in terms of the characteristics of people that we go and hire. And I wonder for you, what are those characteristics that you found make someone a multiplier or a star within your team?
Yeah, a very good question, Richard. And actually, that's something that we did at Preply in the past, and I've implemented also at CloudTalk. It's called ICP, but for account executives for our team. And I think it's really important for us to have that, to understand. And each organization can be different, right? The skill set needs to be different. And secondly, we look at two different sets, right? The first one is technical skills, right? Like, what are the skills that we need somebody to have to be successful in this role? And second is more on the personality side. I think the technical side is quite easy, right? Like, it's very easy for us to assess whether somebody technically is good or not, or has the opportunity to grow, because that's really important. They don't necessarily need to have all the skills, but they need to have that opportunity to grow, which comes on the second part, the personality mindset. And that is where, like, it should be a hard no or a yes, right? If somebody either fits really well within the culture you're trying to build, or you just can't change somebody that easily, right? So that's where, like, you have to be quite strict. For us at CloudTalk, we actually have the culture of accountability. You're accountable for your deals. You're accountable for the experience your customers have with us, right? It's not product. It's not marketing. It's you who is the center of the customer. Second one is consistency. I did mention that the most important thing that I've seen of how salespeople are successful is consistently putting the work. It's not this month they're 150% to go, next month 70%, and so on and so forth. It's that consistently getting to goal, consistently doing the work, putting the work is what makes somebody really good versus average, right, at sales. And third is, I mentioned it again, grit, right? Sales is not for everyone. Sales is not easy, right? You have to have that grit to fail, because ultimately you will fail, and get up and say, it's okay, I've learned. It's not a failure, it's learning. Now I'm going to be a little bit better with the next prospect, right? And if those three things are not into place in our, especially in our field, it's going to be really, really hard to be a good account executive or be good at that. And lastly, we're looking for people that, while it's difficult, while it's challenging, they're trying to have a little bit of fun, right? So we want to build that culture of fun. You can have a lot of fun while being in sales and being difficult, right? So we're looking for those people that are willing to, like, hey, it's hard, it's difficult, but I'm up for it, and I'm going to have fun while going at it, right? So that's what we're looking to do here at CloudTalk.
I love it. We actually just had Alina Vandenberg from Chili Piper on the podcast.
Yes, I'm a big fan of her. Yes,
she's amazing.
She's phenomenal.
She's amazing. And she talked about how joy was one of their core values, and that she hires for it. And it made me realize, actually, that I hadn't heard many people talking about that before. And obviously they built an amazing company, near $1 billion valuation. And it makes a lot of sense when you see how she goes about her business and her social media and the way that she networks and sort of speaks to people, that she'd be a fun person to be around. And I think a lot of businesses lose that fun because they're so focused on the number, that the culture part that people really love when they're in a business is we're winning together. This is fun. And I wonder for you how you get that balance between like it's fun and we're enjoying this with the high performance nature of a revenue organization.
Yeah. Very good question, Richard. And for me as a leader, I always think about what's my role here, right? Like, what am I supposed to do to grow this organization? Obviously, numbers are extremely important in my role, but that's not, I agree with Alina, that's not what I look at, right? Like, what I think my role is, how can I enable every person that I hire to do their best, to be their best at my organization, right? That is my role. And that's kind of how I've always seen my role. And that's why I like it, because I want to make sure that when people are hired, I give them the possibility, the tools, and anything they need to be successful, but also to enjoy, to come to work and say, I want to be here, right? Like, obviously not every day will be exciting. We know some days are harder than others, but cumulatively, they come to work and they say, I like this. I feel my best. I perform my best. I'm excited to be here, right? And that is for us as leaders to build that culture, to hire the right team, to build that environment where there's a healthy competition, but it's a fun competition, right? Where people at the end help each other and support each other. And I think this is the success of CloudTalk so far. I think we've been able to hire people that have that mindset of, I'm here to make it happen for our customers, but I'm also here to contribute and to make a fun environment. And I think for me, that's really important, right? And I always tell my team, we're here to have fun as well, right? Like, you work so much every day, that if you're not enjoying yourself, this is going to be really tough. So we better figure out how to enjoy each other while being together, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's probably a slightly bit easier to get people to convince that they should be having fun when they're in Barcelona versus when they're in
I agree, but we do have a Toronto team, I have to tell you. And half of the year, the weather is real bad, especially right now. So you can balance it. We've tested it in 2 different weather environments. It's still working okay.
Exactly. What I have found, we've done a bunch of work in Toronto, found some incredible people. And whilst, you're right, like the forces of nature are against them, they have unshakable characters and are unbelievably positive people. I love working with the Canadians.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the best decisions that we've made, to have a Toronto office rather than Boston, where I was located. Still the same weather, but the mindset is slightly different, which makes all the difference.
I'm curious to learn something that maybe our audience could take some value from, which is everything you've said: accountability, ownership, consistency, grit, and fun. I don't think anyone would disagree with those traits. But what people might find it hard to do is spot those characteristics, expose, test, and measure those things during a process. Because a lot of people can talk a good game in an interview and show some very impressive results and metrics, but when it comes to it, aren't consistent, don't have the grit, are like wilting flowers, and ultimately fail. And you can't motivate someone who's not motivated to go and take ownership and be accountable themselves and make it a fun environment for other people. What are some of the things that you've learned help you to identify consistency and grit during the hiring process?
Yeah, Richard, interviewing salespeople is really tough. They all can talk big game, right? Like, they all have very good interviews. I've been in interviews with engineers and product. It's a little bit easier, right? What I found is, again, I have a very specific framework of how we interview people. And the best way to understand somebody's capabilities is actually to put them into a role play. And I think that's not a surprise, right? So I would say the interviews are probably a little bit on not the easy side for us, right? Because we actually ask people to role play, but we also give them feedback, right? And we make it hard for them. And we want to say, okay, we're going to give you a hard, let's say, objective. But can you get out of it? Do you have the grit, right, to to be able to get back at it. We give them feedback and we see how they react, right? And we ask them to role play it again, and we see, okay, can they actually implement that real time, right? So I do think that it's really important if you interview for a commercial role, like you must have a role play, because that's when you really understand what are the skills, and then what is the personality, how they react to these difficult objections, right? How they put that feedback back. Would they get defensive? Because many people do, actually, you'll be surprised. Would they say, oh, that's fantastic, I've learned something today, now I can be even if this interview does not go well, I can be even better in my role, because these are things I can implement even on my side, right? Again, like, you'll be surprised with the age of AI, how many people actually come and they don't even know what the company does, right? Like, so my first question is, actually, I break my interview into 3 parts. The first is actually, tell me what you know about us, the challenges, because they've already had a couple of interviews, right? Just to see, did they come prepared? Like, did they summarize their notes? Did they research the company, use AI? And many of them actually have a hard time articulating or summarizing what they know, what they think we do, what are the problems that we solve. So for me, that's already a red flag, right? And obviously, like, situational questions, like, what would you do if you do this? And then ask them on different angles and see if consistencies there would help. But again, role play is the biggest game changer. And being critical, right? Like, you're hiring people, you're making a decision. You spend 2 hours with one person max, right, throughout the interview process. And you're already making a decision whether they're going to be a good fit. It's tough. And you can never be 100% sure. But if you ask those right questions, if you give them the challenges that they would ultimately face in the role, and you don't sugarcoat it, because a lot of IT times we try to get them to join, we paint this pink rose picture, and then they join, they're like, oh my gosh, this is very different. Give them, hey, these are the challenges you're going to face. It's exciting for you, you're welcome. If it's not exciting for you, let's not waste our time, right? So with that, I think, again, no interview process can ever filter 100%, but it has helped us.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you articulate the challenge, you'll see a lot of that grit, and you'll see whether they're excited to be consistent to achieve the goal. And I really love that, because I think that people getting expectations wrong during the hiring process is one of the biggest failure points. You could run a perfect process and then set the wrong expectations around what the expectations are and what the resources will look like, and people get disappointed. So it makes sense. I know we talked about hiring a lot. One final question: what's your favorite interview question to ask?
So I do have one question that I consistently ask, and it's not actually connected to about their experience or anything else. I do ask quite often, who's your manager? Okay, this is the person. Imagine I meet them in Barcelona at a bar, and I say, oh, you've worked with Toulouse. Tell me about Toulouse. What's one thing that he does really well, better than anybody else within the organization, really makes him stand apart? And then what's one thing that if he gets right, he'll get to that next level? What would that person say, right? And it's good to hear how they self-reflect, right? And how they, some of them are quite honest, which is fantastic. So I enjoy that question, and just understanding their feedback on their own assessment from their manager's perspective.
That's a really good question.
Startups move so fast that if your team don't have a common language around what great looks like in hiring, you're going to get random outcomes. We give founders and their teams a shared definition of what multipliers look like. So hiring becomes strategic, not reactive. Alignment starts here.
So one of the things that you mentioned, Elitsa, was that you've moved more into that kind of AI world. How have you found that transition? What are some of the things that you're seeing in that world that's ever evolving so quickly?
Yeah, so Tulu, I'm personally very fascinated by the development of AI. It's incredible to see how quickly AI is evolving. And I'll give you an example. Right now at CloudTalk, we use our own voice agents, right? Voice agents, how we use them is we have quite a huge volume of calls coming from different parts of the world where we might not have enough coverage, language capabilities, and so on. We actually deploy our own voice agents to be able to filter leads, right? To be able to qualify leads and to give them the best, to give potential prospects the best experience when they try to reach out to us at a time when we're not available, or with a language that we actually do not speak. And it's incredible to see that the voice agent can actually switch languages real time, can ask fantastic questions, and does the job from not just calling, because that's the easiest part, finding, right? Like the voice agent can also call prospects, can call customers, finding information, right? Being able to call and then record all of the notes into a CRM system, all of that in once is pretty incredible and something that I could not have imagined 3 to 4 years ago, right? Secondly is the full automation of just the admin part of sales, which honestly, I've been in sales for 15 years. I hated absolutely the most. When I was an SDR 15 years ago, we'd call on the Cisco phone, make 100 calls a day. Then the rest of the time, you just type your notes in Salesforce and then send calendar invites. So again, like when I think about when I was an SDR at CEB 15 years ago, we actually had to do all of that on our own. Like we spent 60% of our time on admin tasks, right? Drafting those follow-up emails. Right now, that is completely automated and it's fantastic, right? Also, the ability to call, like we have at CloudTalk, an amazing way, it's called an AI dialer, where it can call up to 5 to 6 customers at the same time. So you don't need to waste that time of finding the phone number, right? Like it's just like automated for you. All you need to focus on if you're an SDR right now is how can I have an impactful conversation with the person I'm calling? And isn't that the most exciting part of the job? So for me, AI is, seeing the development in AI for sales is really exciting because I don't see AI taking over the core of the role, which is having a meaningful conversation with the customer, understanding about their business, the challenges, and how potentially we can solve that, but is removing the noise that we need to do, which took the majority of the time. Like, how can I add nodes? How can I, even get feedback? Right now, with CloudTalk, we actually have a AI where it can score each conversation. And me as a manager, I would love to understand, okay, who can I support the most? Not just listening to every call, but just having that aggregate result. So it really has enhanced our ability to be better for our customers and to have those meaningful conversations by removing that noise and that admin part that honestly no one really enjoyed to begin with.
I remember getting loads of leads back in 2007 as an SDR and like trying to convince our manager they should hire a full-time admin to write up our leads because we hated it.
Richard, you're already ahead of the times.
Only we had AI. I'm really curious. You mentioned a couple of really interesting use cases there for AI and how it's helping your team to be more productive, spend more time with customers, be more impactful, which we keep coming back to this word impactful. Also how it's helping customers, because it's like speaking their language and it's so fast. Correct. And it's giving them what they need. As a leader, particularly as a VP of sales, how is AI helping you to perform better in your role and show up better for your team?
Yeah, 2 ways, right? The first one is, as I mentioned, it has the ability, I don't need to be at every single conversation, right? Like I can actually extract information and understand, okay, what are my top performers doing better than anybody else with such a quick pace, right? Like I can, with a couple of minutes, be able to get understanding of what are my top performers doing that we can replicate, and what are some of the people that are a little bit struggling we can support them with to get to that next level, which is phenomenal. And secondly, kind of the ability to synthesize huge amount of information and data within amount of seconds is incredible. Previously, we used to spend a lot of times writing reports, analyzing reports, creating these beautiful presentations. Again, now the core of the time is spent on not designing the slides, which was my least favorite job, and I'm pretty bad at it, but really understanding, okay, now that I have all of this information analyzed, like what are the decisions I'm going to make? Let me review it further, and what are the decisions that I'm going to make? So you're a lot more focused on the issues and potential solutions rather than, again, on you analyzing the information on your own, which takes a lot of time. So it's really incredible to see how we can be moving quicker. We can have more data and more impactful data to make the right decisions with with AI.
What are some of your favorite tools that you're using that have an AI angle?
So one of the tools that right now I'm using, two tools. I use Cloudy quite a lot. I think ChatGPT, great tool. I just think that the quality recently, a lot of people probably are sharing the same feedback, is a little bit deteriorating. I used Cloudy quite often, and Notebook LLM. Notebook LLM is a fantastic tool if you want to synthesize data. Again, use multiple different resources, data resources into one place. So those are the tools that I personally use. We also use quite a couple of tools on the sales side. Obviously, we use our own voice agents, our own tool. But we also use Mojo to record conversations, get instant notes right on HubSpot. And with the help of AI, we can draft very impactful follow-up emails that are quite tailored to the customer problems. So I absolutely, again, I don't want to get too much into there are too many tools these days. They say they have about 2,000 just sales AI tools. Wow. But just finding a couple that really can automate your journey and can help you is really important. But I do not want to spend way too much time like just analyzing tools, because there are tools, I call them one-trick ponies. They just do one thing and one thing only, which is great. But I think we have a really good full tech stack at the moment, and we're pretty happy with it.
Just as we start to close, I wanted to go back to, what makes you tech, and you were talking about impact. And one of the things we were talking about in the green room is, some of the things that you're doing to have a wider impact, even outside of your role at CloudTalk. So I'd love for you to just share, some of those things that you were trying to do to make a bit of more wider impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And last time we spoke was around the time when I actually relocated from Ukraine back to the US. Obviously, Ukraine is a dear country to my heart. I spent 6 years there. There are phenomenal entrepreneurs, including Preply, right, that started there. So one of the things that I do is I work closely with entrepreneurs from Ukraine to help them scale their organizations. And one of the companies that I support is called Mood.ua. They're a corporate gifting organization. And it's a relatively small startup, about 50 people, run by two phenomenal women that they encounter tremendous challenges on a daily basis. As you can imagine, for this type of business, Q4 is a huge quarter for them. About 70% of their business is done in Q4. But at the same time, that's the most challenging time of the year for people living in Ukraine. No electricity, no hot water. They also have to ship goods all around the world. Some of the goods are being bombed, right, while being transported. People are taken, right, to go to the front lines, just from day one to, right, like from next day to, from this day to the next day. So just the amount of challenges that they face every day is enormous. And it makes me think, obviously, us as VP of sales, as leaders, there's so many challenges that we encounter every day, right? And they're difficult, they're hard. But when you put that into perspective of what these two founders encounter every day, right? Calling me and saying, hey, so our biggest package is being bombed right now. Like, we have to figure it out. Plan B, here is the plan B. They already come prepared. They already know what to do next. For them, this is a normality, right? This kind of challenges, they're so immune to the difficulties that they don't think, this is so unfortunate. They already say, we have to have a plan B. This is what we are going to do. They just roll with the punches. And it's amazing to see that, right? It's very rewarding. And for anybody who, obviously, each person has their own tolerance towards difficulties, right? But we have problems that are quite manageable and something that majority of times we can control. And I often think about those two founders, that the amount of problems that they encounter every day that they can't control, but they still find a way to manage them with things they can control is really amazing. And it makes me wake up every day and say, okay, I can do this. I can do this better than before. So just it puts us into perspective about our own difficulties and challenges, right?
It must be quite humbling, because that's proper grit and resourcefulness and consistency. And really what we talk about a lot of the time we overuse the words grit really in sales, because we mean make a few more calls and do a bit more work. But that's like a level of, like a locus of control there. There's all this stuff I can't control in the world. If I let that affect my mood and my energy, then I won't achieve anything. So what is in my locus of control, so that my attitude and my behavior affects the outcome, rather than the world's situations affect my world. I wonder what you're thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I think, Richard, the most important thing that I've realized is if you do something that you enjoy, that you see impact, right? The level of grit increases, right? And the second thing is you don't know how much you can handle until you hit it. And I don't think any of us have hit that norm, right? Yeah. And I think even for myself, just making the decision. I have 2 kids under 3. I'm going to be moving to Barcelona on my own, thankfully with my mom, who's been a big help. Some people might think I'm crazy, and probably they're not far from that, right? But the thing is, you don't know how much you can handle until you try, right? And the most important thing is just to be open-minded, to be able to try, right? And things will be tough. Things are always tough at first. No matter what you do, the beginning will be tough, right? But if you can be able to sustain it and say, it will be tough for now, but each day it's going to get better, right? Each day it's going to get easier. Then you kind of understand, wait, I actually can do this, right? Oftentimes, I think we don't put ourselves in that situation to try. And that's why we don't know how much we can handle. And that's what I see with the girls, right? They're so brave. They say, well, this is the new normal. Now I have to operate in this new normal. Unfortunately, they didn't put themselves into that. It was kind of... they were enforced to that. But then you understand, I like what I do, and this is the challenge. I'm going to handle it. Like your level of grit increases. I think that the lesson is always put yourself out there, all right, and see how much you can do, because you'll be impressed how much more you can do than you think. And I've learned that firsthand last year.
Incredible. Should we finish with some tick fire, Tolu?
I think we should.
Let's do it.
So, question 1. If you started your own podcast tomorrow, who would you pick as your first guest, dead or alive?
I would put Charlie Munger. He's always been a kind of a inspiration to me. I really enjoy how he thinks, the investments he's made, obviously. So I'm a big fan of his, and I would love to have him on the podcast.
Really interesting. When you think about AI's impact in the world, what are you most excited about, and what are you most cautious about?
Most excited, I do think that AI can have huge impact actually on health and diagnosing early signs of health issues, which is exciting. I'm super interested in that, and I think it's exciting where we are going. I am quite concerned in terms of fake news, right? Right now, we can create incredible videos of fake videos, and I'm really concerned that the level of information out there and the level of us being able to understand what's real and fake will get blurred, and I'm quite concerned about that in the future.
When you're coaching new leaders, what's one piece of advice that you always share?
I think I already shared all of my wisdom today. I have none left in my toolbox. So listen to the whole podcast and learn. But again, I think the most important thing is like, go out there, test yourself. Don't say no. Say more yeses, right? Like, test yourself. There's always a way for you to go back to what you were doing. That's usually my mantra. Like, go out there, test yourself, see how much you can do. Give it a couple of months, and then you can always come back, right? Like that's usually my mantra that I live with.
What's the feedback that you received that had the biggest impact on your thinking?
I think my previous managers gave me quite a good feedback about my personal growth and some of the things that I need to be working on. And I love feedback, because people that give you feedback, it means they really care about you, right? So I take it in an exciting way. I think the biggest thing for me that I've mentioned is, again, I get very excited about things and I want to move forward fast. Sometimes it's difficult, right? Like, I'm in a startup world where if you don't move fast, you'll be behind. You'll never have enough information, enough data to make a decision. So that's usually my way of thinking. Let's just move iterate until we make it perfect rather than making it perfect. But I know that sometimes you can break things if you don't move in a smart way. So you have to always think, as Jeff Bezos said, is it a two-way door or a one-way door?
One-way door, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it's a one-way door, no go. So I've learned that the hard way.
Which book would you add to the library for our listeners?
So it's not a book, actually, a sales book, even though I do enjoy sales books. It's a recent book that I read by Peter Attia. It's about health, right? It opened my mind because I used to read a lot of books about external environment, history, autobiographies, and I absolutely love them. But I haven't read enough books to tell us, about our own health, right? Like about things that we can spot, about things that we can control and we can do now to be healthier in 20 years. So it is a book that I read a couple of times, and it made me take action about my own health, which is connected to performance as well, right?
Amazing. I think that's a lovely parting thought for our listeners. So thank you so much, Elitsa, for being back on the podcast. It's been amazing to have you back and hear what you're up to.
Thank you, Tulu. Thank you, Richard.
Pleasure.
It's lovely to be here.
Everyone else, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks so much for joining us for the What Makes You Tick podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed having the conversation.
Yeah, there's so much value in hearing other people's career stories. And if you're someone focused on growing in your own career, check out our Growth Magnet newsletter on LinkedIn. We'll put a link in the show notes.
And we will see you on the next episode.